What's up, guys? It's Toad back with you. Better Off Dead. It is Monday, June 9th. Yesterday, 3-1 on the show, so pretty good day on the show. The only loss was the Houston Astros, who had a close game. They wound up losing 4-2. It was 2-2 getting later into the game, and unfortunately, their bullpen, even though they had the better of the two bullpens, I believe, they were not able to hold it together, and they lost 4-2. Everything else was a winner. We had Arizona, Cincinnati, first 5 innings under the 5, and I believe it was a 4-run game at that point, so that was a winner. Both starting pitchers did well enough in that game. And then we did have Atlanta, San Francisco, full game under the 8, which also got there. That was looking a little bit dicey. I mean, both starting pitchers did mediocre in the game pretty much. It was, I think, a 3-2 game in the middle of the game, so it wasn't looking that great, but the bullpens came through in that game, and I don't think there were any runs scored in the final 3 innings of that game, so it wound up being a nice win there for the for the under in that one. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm trying to make sure that my screen share is working. It looks like my screen share is all kind of messed up right now. What is going on here? Maybe it's fine. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Because right now in the screen share, I see like myself, because I always have this video up to check the audio and make sure it's fine, but I don't know. Arizona, Cincinnati, by the way, I think at least Gallen, I think, stayed in the game longer than that and gave up more runs in like the 7th inning. But of course, it didn't matter for the first 5 innings. Those runs don't count in the first 5 innings, so that worked out. And then we did have Oklahoma City, of course, in the Wnba game, and it was really kind of similar to the first game. Just this time they didn't blow the lead. They just continued to have the lead the whole time, and they were able to win the game, I think by 16, something like that. So whatever number you laid on that, that got it done. So let's move on to today and make sure that my screen share is this is all messed up, man. Like, what? It was sharing like some old window here. Hold on a second. This makes no sense, dude. I'm going to try to represent this here. That was just strange. It had like partially the YouTube up, partially my Action Network. I have no idea what that was. Okay. So let's dive into it, man. We have Stanley Cup Finals Game 3, as this is now a 1-1 series. Florida tying the series in Game 2. We're going to Florida for this game, or the series is. And I should again clarify, I'm not actually betting any of these games right now at the moment because of my financial situation. So, but giving out the picks right now, still hovering like almost right around the break-even point on the year, though. And if it wasn't for a horrific March, we'd be up on the year. So we're just continuing to chug along. I haven't made a play in the Stanley Cup Finals yet, and I'm not going to here either. Florida's at home. They're up for -135 to -137. 70% of tickets, 81% of the cash coming in on them. If Florida was down 0-2, I might be more likely to actually come in and actually make a play on Florida here, because they'd be like back at home, total desperation mode. But you got to figure the home team is going to have a decent advantage throughout this series for the most part. This is a series that has a lot of travel involved, although both these teams were playing in the finals last year, so they're both kind of used to this travel situation, at least in that they did do this last year. But still, it's a pretty difficult travel situation, although that kind of applies to both teams, but the teams are so far away distance-wise. I think the home team does have the edge. Both of these teams were better at home this year than on the road. Although Edmonton actually had a pretty decent road record, which I think was actually better than Florida's road record. So Florida, they're gonna be better at home than they are on the road, most likely. And with the way that Edmonton they were able to hang in there in the last game, like the dramatic ending of that game might hang Edmonton over into this game, to be honest, because that was a game where Florida has actually been debatably the better team in both games. They were the way more physical team in Game 2. They had way more hits. I believe they won like the possession battle in both games. So it just kind of came down to which teams were getting shots, which team was getting the better shots. Came down to a little bit of luck, I think, as well, as both games were really close. Edmonton, again, overcame a 3-1 deficit in Game 1, so Florida really did have a lead in the crucial moments kind of both games. And in Game 2, Florida I believe they were down by 1 goal at most in game two. They actually wound up taking the lead, and if you were watching that game, Edmonton scored with 17 seconds left or 18 seconds left in the game, and it looked like Florida was going to have it put away. Edmonton was in the empty net. Corey Perry scored on this kind of crazy bounce with 17 seconds left that sent the game into overtime. It was like, oh my God. I guess Edmonton really going to get away with this after Florida basically had the game put away. The game went into double overtime, and luckily for Florida, they were able to win. And my man, Marchand, who used to be on the Bruins, he had the go-ahead goal in regulation as a shorthanded goal on a really bad mistake turnover by Edmonton that kind of set up a breakaway for him. And then in overtime, he had the winning goal, and it was almost like everybody just kind of lost sight of the puck. Like he had it in front of the net. He didn't really get a shot off. He just kind of lost the puck. And I think Skinner just kind of lost the puck too, and it went in, and that was it. And Marchand was like, yeah, I kind of blacked out and then realized that it had gone in. It's the way these things go in some of these games, man. But I do think Florida is still the more balanced team. They have the better defense. I tend to lean towards the defense, especially at home, over the team that has the better offense, which is Edmonton. Florida, I still believe they have the better goalie, too, in Bobrovsky. Skinner, starting to kind of show that he is beatable in this series, as he's looked almost unbeatable throughout the playoffs here, but not really in this series, although Bobrovsky has allowed some goals as well. So, slight lean to Florida. All that being said, the money's also coming in on the under as well as on Florida. So, if you like Florida, might mean it'll be more of a defensive game. In the first two games, both went over. But now these teams having all this travel, I don't know, is the travel going to affect the offense more, or are they going to come out in this game not as, on fire as they were in the first couple of games where there were some goals scored pretty early on, especially I think in game two? Is this going to be a game where the teams take a while to get going? Maybe. Or is the travel going to affect the defense a little bit more? I don't really know, but the money is coming in on the under. We have 57% of tickets on the over, 67% of the cash on the under, and the juice coming in on the 6.5 juice to the under. So I guess just do with all that information what you want to do. WNBA, I am going to actually have a play in the one game today, which is Golden State at LA. I'm going to recommend laying the points with LA in this one. Yesterday, I should have actually given out Washington as a play yesterday, man. I mean, it's all retrospect, but Washington yesterday, easy blowout win over the awful Connecticut Sun yesterday. I did mention that I leaned that way, but man, didn't expect a 37-point win, but that's what we got yesterday. Anyway, LA, there are a couple of reasons why I like this play, man. I mean, LA just broke a 3-game loss streak with a win over the worst team in the league right now, Dallas. So I think maybe Connecticut is still worse than Dallas, but Dallas just is lacking chemistry right now. They've been without a couple of their best players, including Bukers, or Bukers. How do you pronounce their name? I don't know. So that Dallas team is definitely shorthanded right now. So LA was able to get the win there on the road. They are coming back home, but they're only coming back home for one game, so I don't really put much stock into that as far as, this is a return home spot or whatever. They've had an extra day off over Golden State because they played on Friday. Golden State actually played on Saturday. So LA has more rest. And last time they played Golden State, they lost to them at home. So LA beat Golden State on the road to start the season. Golden State got a nice road revenge win against them. Not only getting the road revenge and beating them on the road, but the Sparks were the favorite in both games, and they were a 10.5-point favorite in that game, and they lost the game. And I think maybe early on, maybe the Sparks are still trying to get, some chemistry because they do have Kelsey Plum now, who's new to their team, and she was on Vegas last year, and she's like their best player, so they're still trying to gain some chemistry, although I think the Valkyries are a new team this year, so like an expansion team, so they're really trying to get their legs under them as well. But this was just a bad game for LA, man. They were losing the whole game. They actually almost still came back and won. Golden State maybe shot a little bit better than you'd expect. Maybe LA shot a little bit worse than you'd expect, as Golden State shot 41.5% from the field. LA shot 38.7% from the field. LA actually lost the turnover battle at home, so I don't expect that to happen again. We're talking about LA being at home again here, and instead of being a 10.5-point favorite, they're only a 7-point favorite, up from 6.5. We do see 50% of tickets, 60% of the cash coming in on Golden State, so the money Looks like it is coming in a Golden State, but again, I'm not going to put that much stock into that cash percentage there. I think there is line value here. I don't know if there are any injuries that we need to be concerned with here. I mean, we can take a look here. Not really. I mean, it looks like, so we do have Brink and Burrell out for the Sparks, but I think they've been out for maybe a while at this point, so I don't know. I don't think that's a huge deal for LA. I think that this is a bounce back spot for LA, man, and we're getting a little bit of line value because they were 10.5 point favorites the other time they played against Golden State here. Now they're 6.5. It's a revenge spot. They really had a bad game. They remember the last time they played on this floor, they had a really bad game. It was all really the second quarter, 25-9, second quarter in favor of Golden State, just really put them behind in the game. So I think that's what we got going on here. I think we're going to get a good game here from LA. There is line value here. Golden State, by the way, not only is LA in a nice bounce back spot or in a nice revenge spot against Golden State here because they lost here at home to them last time in an embarrassing loss. Golden State's coming off crushing the Las Vegas Aces as 12.5 point home underdogs. How does that even happen? And this was 2 days ago, so they played on Saturday, so they have less time off. And they're coming off their biggest win of the year, a huge upset over an Aces team that is really good. And if you look at the percentages, it was just ridiculous. Vegas had a horrific shooting game, 35.5% from the field, 24% from three, while Golden State was kind of an outlier as well at 47.9% from the field, 35.7% from three. So I don't think you're going to see percentages that are this lopsided again. This was an unbelievable upset win by Golden State. So, and Golden State, by the way, I believe all of their wins this year are at home as well. If I'm not mistaken. Oh, excuse me, they have one road. Oh, yeah, their only road win is at L.A. What am I saying? They had that one road win at L.A., and that's their only road win this year. So even though I know L.A. only has one win at home, but that's, again, the odds makers are telling you what you need to know, that L.A. is the better of these two teams. They've had kind of a difficult schedule. Valkyries, of course, have gotten a little bit lucky with a couple of ridiculous upset wins. So, again, Sparks are the better team, even though they have a slightly worse record. So, you're seeing kind of a misleading-looking line here. Like, how could the team with the worst record be like a 7-point favorite here? Well, it's because they're actually the better team fairly significantly. They're in a nice revenge spot. Golden State's in a letdown spot. And I don't even think this line is heavy enough, to be honest. I think we're actually getting line value. So lay the points with LA in the WNBA there. Let's go to Major League Baseball before I lose my voice. At least we have a short card here. I have 3 plays, and some of them are going against the market. I think all 3 of them might be, and I don't really care. First up, I'm going to recommend a split play on Cleveland, half on the -1.5 run line at +135, and the other half of the bet on the -150 money line. Or if you want to just go to DraftKings and play a -1 run line, you can do that too. This is basically the same thing. It's just that you can get a little bit of a better number by shopping around because you get different markets for each part of the bet here, and you can play them at different books where each, if you have more books, each book might have a better number on a particular market. So that opens you up for a little bit more value potentially there. Either way, I like Cleveland here. The market does not agree with me on this, so we could start there. Let's look. Cleveland's down from -155 to -148. We do have 52% of tickets, 53% of the cash on Cincinnati. So we'll see what winds up happening with the market percentages as this thing plays out, as none of these games are till the evening. Reds are below 500 on the road, man. Cleveland's above 500 at home, even though I think Cleveland is a little bit worse than the record would indicate. They are a little bit better at home, so we can start there. Cincinnati is coming off a sweep of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And yes, I know they're going on the road here, so it is kind of a positive spot when you take that momentum out on the road with you. But Cincinnati might be in a little bit of a letdown spot. I mean, even though Arizona doesn't have a good record, that was a hard-fought series for Cincinnati. It was a good series sweep for Cincinnati. They didn't use too much of their relief staff yesterday, so that's not really an issue. Cleveland didn't either, though. But I think Cleveland is in a much better spot here. They're staying at home, although Cincinnati's only traveling across Ohio, so who cares? But Cleveland just broke their losing momentum after they lost 3 games in a row. They salvaged the last game of the series against Houston, So I think that's going to help give them a little bit of momentum going forward as they just were able to get that final win, beating me yesterday, by the way, because I actually gave out Houston in that game. Cleveland got the job done. So I like how this sets up for Cleveland better, man. I think Cincinnati could be in a bit of a letdown spot. I think Cleveland's not going to be overconfident after that win. I think that just gives them some confidence back. And Cincinnati has Wade Miley starting, man. I mean, like, are you serious? Wade Miley, this guy, like, I can't believe he's still in the league. He's 38 years old now. He's a junk pitcher. The last year when he pitched, last year he only made 2 starts last year for Milwaukee, and he was bad. 6.43 ERA, 1.43 whip, terrible numbers, even though he only went 7 innings. But he really hasn't pitched hardly at all since 2023 when he actually had a full season. It was inexplicably a good season ERA and whip-wise for Milwaukee, but he was not striking anybody out that year. So I think there is room to, I think you got to pause on that. Even though he did have good numbers that year, the peripherals tell you he was not really doing anything, even though he's never been a strikeout guy. Really, he's more of a junk pitcher. But 2022, he barely pitched. 2020, he barely pitched. So since 2020, he's only pitched 2 full seasons. And 2021, his whip was way higher than his ERA, would suggest that it should be 1.33 whip there with a 3.37 ERA. So this 2023 looks like it was pretty much an outlier with a 3.14 ERA, 1.14 whip. I don't know how that happened at all, but he's trying to make his comeback here. He's only made 1 appearance for the Reds here against the prior team that he was on, Milwaukee, and he only went 2 innings in relief. He was bad. He didn't strike out anybody, which he doesn't usually. He gave up 6 hits, 4 earned runs. Not good for Wade Miley here. And up against Cleveland in his career, he also hasn't been good, really. In 37 at-bats, he's allowed 3 home runs to all different batters. 6 walks to only 4 strikeouts. That's not good. A 270 average and a 913 OPS. That is a pretty high OPS. His numbers are not good, even though only 5 Cleveland batters have seen him before. 3 of them have hit home runs off him. Santana's 7 for 15 with a home run and 4 walks. So he's really the guy you want to target for like player props, even though he's old now. If you want to be looking for guys that hit Wade Miley, I do not love Wade Miley in this spot whatsoever. Pokies, what's up, man? Yeah, you saw my Pokies on Legion of Skanks. I wouldn't call that a cameo, man. I'm the star, baby. And the LOS hosts, they're like, I don't know, man. They seem to be kind of like not taking my side completely on the getting fired, over. I'm just telling jokes online, man. I mean, these guys are in the business of telling jokes, right? They should understand that. Nobody should be canceled over saying offensive stuff. These guys are supposed to be the most offensive podcast in the world, baby. So, I don't know, man. They seemed a little bit hesitant to really back me on that. I will be sending in another video to them, by the way. I don't know how it works, when round 2 is going to be, but I got to get that done. Luis Ortiz is pitching for Cleveland here, and I don't like Luis Ortiz at all. But in this spot, I think it is a spot where we can play on him. He has a 4.02 ERA, which is, that's fine, but a 1.4 whip is really bad. Yeah, I know. He's walking too many guys. That just has been a concern all year, so nothing is really going to change about the fact that he's been walking too many guys. But, he is coming off a 5 2/3 inning shutout performance against the Yankees. Does that mean he's going to have a little bit of a letdown here? I'm not so sure. He had 7 strikeouts, which was good, even though he walked too many guys, 3 walks. Really, he's been in okay form, at least for him, for a while, even though he's been walking too many guys. He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start, going all the way back to May 11th. And that was only 1 start at Detroit. And speaking of road starts like that, he's actually been much better at home this year with a 2.22 home ERA compared to 5.4 on the road. So he's actually been a lot better at home. And against Cincinnati, he actually has done well in his history. Cincinnati has seen him because he was on Pittsburgh. So you think, that's a disadvantage to Ortiz, right? Because Cincinnati has seen him a bunch. Doesn't seem to be, because in 57 at-bats, he has a 17-4 strikeout walk ratio against them, which is pretty good. 211 batting average and 561 OPS. So Ortiz actually has the home road splits for this. I think he's the better pitcher over Wade Miley, man. I don't know if Wade Miley can do anything anymore at this point. So I like Cleveland here in this one. I know you're having to lay a little bit of a price for it, but I think it is kind of worth it. I think there's a big starting pitching edge here for Cleveland, as weird as that might sound. That's just how bad I think Miley is. And I really don't like these junk pitchers like he is, even though it's not like Ortiz is really that much of a strikeout guy himself or whatever. But still, I think the splits line up for him. He's got the good matchup numbers. And if that's not enough, Cleveland lost to Cincinnati. This is their in-state rival, and Cleveland got swept at Cincinnati not that long ago. So this is a bit of a revenge series because Cleveland lost every game to Cincinnati. So I think Cleveland's going to be a little bit more motivated for that reason as well. So Cleveland is the play in that first game. The Cleveland Indians, baby. Miami and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh could be in a bit of a letdown spot here, man, because they just swept Philadelphia. So that was a big series for them, beating their cross-state rival, who's a much better team than they are. I thought they might lose yesterday. Paul Skeens was on the mound. He did really well again. Pittsburgh usually doesn't hit behind him at all, but he was really good, and Pittsburgh got away with just scoring 2 runs, and they won the game. Playing against a Miami team that's coming off a loss to the Tampa Bay here. They've lost a bunch of games recently. The only game they won was the game I recommended to play on them a couple days ago. So Miami might be feeling a little bit good to just fly somewhere else and play a new series here. Miami has Yuri Perez starting, and I actually like Perez. He's been injured. He hasn't started this year. He's a really young guy, 22. But even at a younger age than that, 2 years ago when he was 20, he made 19 starts for Miami, and he had really good numbers, a 3.15 ERA, 1.13 whip, and he had 108 strikeouts in 91 1/3 innings pitched and only 31 walks. So he had a really high strikeout rate and a really nice strikeout walk ratio, really good numbers across the board, ERA, whip. So Perez was really good despite being really young back then. But now the question is, how is he going to do bouncing back from what I assume is like some arm surgery or something? Because he's been out of the league since 2023 after such a great start to his career. You want to see him, guys like this, you want to see them do well, man. I mean, he was one of the guys that you like to bet on. I like these under-the-radar guys that nobody's ever heard of before, and they have really good stuff. So I think it's got to be a wait-and-see approach with him, though, even though this does inspire quite a bit of confidence that he can get out there and do this again. But after such a long layoff and probably arm surgery and whatever, how is he going to fare in this game? I don't know. But he does have a decent matchup here against a Pittsburgh team. It's a pretty weak lineup, and I think some of them probably have seen him before back in the day, but we can take a look here. Yeah, actually, Pittsburgh is 3 for 10 off him with 3 strikeouts. There's not a whole lot to see there. It's a very small sample size. So I do like Perez. Burrows is pitching for Pittsburgh. So we have 2 young pitchers going at it here. Burrows not as much of a strikeout guy. He's more of a guy that's going to try to use command and use his diverse arsenal of pitches to try to get you out. Hasn't been great so far. This is his rookie season. 5.27 ERA, 1.32 WHIP. And actually, Perez is still younger than he is. So interesting tidbit there. But Burrows had his first really good game in his last outing against Houston. 5 innings, 5 1/3 innings, shutout, no walks. 6 strikeouts, 5 hits allowed. That tells you that he's starting to gain some confidence. He's starting to come into form. He's got some command now. So even though that was the weakest offense that he's faced, that was a good sign moving forward for Burrows. So I think Burrows is looking pretty good right now. His ERA is better at home as well with a 3.48 ERA. And Miami has never seen him before. So I don't really necessarily want to fade either starting pitcher here, man. So I think I would probably look to an under in this game. It looks like the money line did come down on Pittsburgh, down from minus 126 to minus 110. 71% of tickets, 97% of the cash on Pittsburgh. So they do have the cash percentage on them, but I actually agree with the money line move there. I would agree slightly with the Miami side. If Perez is still able to do what he could do a couple of years ago, I think he is the better pitcher, and I think Miami's in the better spot. But both starting pitchers might be guys that you want to be on right now. Both offenses are so bad that an under does kind of make sense here. The total's down from 8.5 to 8. Juice to the over. 74% of tickets, 93% of the cash on the under. So I don't have any totals in my games today, but an under does make sense in that game. Cubs at Philadelphia. This is a big game between 2 teams that may very well be playoff bound. Philadelphia has fallen behind the Mets by quite a bit now. I mean, they've lost 5 straight games. They have not been playing well. They've lost 9 of their last 10. They just got swept by Pittsburgh, who's not a very good team. They're returning home from a road trip, although they now they're just going across the state of Pittsburgh, so it's not really a huge travel spot coming back from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. But usually when a team returns home from a road trip, they got to get back to family life, and a lot of times they're distracted. I don't think that's going to be quite the case with Philly here, though, because they were just already in the state of Philadelphia, in the state of Pennsylvania, and they're facing the Cubs here, man. I mean, you're most likely going to be focused when you're facing the Cubs, so I think that can all be kind of thrown out the window. And we had a good starting pitching matchup here. I know neither bullpen has really been that great, and by the way, Miami-Pittsburgh, you do have to worry about their bullpens not being that great. And Pittsburgh didn't see much bullpen usage because Skeens went most of the game yesterday. Miami used a little bit more of their bullpen, so there's a little bit of a concern with the Miami bullpen there. So, I mean, also an under first 5 inning might make sense there, or Miami in the first 5 innings might make sense there. Anyway, Cubs, Philadelphia, both teams used a little bit of their bullpen yesterday, but not much. The Cubs bullpen has been getting a lot better. They're now almost kind of in the upper third of bullpens. Philadelphia is still down to the bottom third of bullpens, though their bullpen has been struggling. So Chicago does have a bullpen edge here. The Cubs, they are, I believe, starting a road trip, if I'm not mistaken. No, they're in the middle of a road trip. Excuse me. They're starting a third straight road series. What am I saying? They just were at Detroit. I believe they just split a 4-game series with Detroit. I thought Chicago had a decent shot to win the game yesterday, and they did not do it. Oh, no, excuse me. They lost 2 out of 3 to Detroit. I'm making mistakes all over the place. But Chicago coming into Philadelphia now, not a huge travel situation for either team here, really. I think both teams are going to be focused. The bullpens are fairly rested here. Matthew Boyd is on the mound for the Cubs, 3.01 ERA, 1.19 whip. He's been in pretty good form for a while now, man. In the month of May, he had a 34-2 strikeout walk ratio, which is crazy good. 3.54 ERA, and in his one start in June, he had a 6.1 strikeout walk ratio, so he is in good form right now and continuing to be so. He's been a little bit better at home, though, 2.40 home ERA. On the road, 3.49. Still pretty good on the road, though, but a little bit worse on the road. And up against Philadelphia, I believe he does have good numbers. Yeah, they haven't seen a lot of him. They've only seen 28 at-bats against him. Only 3 of their hitters have ever even faced him before. But he does have an 11-2 strikeout walk ratio against him, a 179 average, and 651 OPS. So Boyd, I think, does have a bit of an upper hand there. He's in good form. He has decent numbers against Philadelphia. And Philadelphia's got Zach Wheeler starting. He was on the paternity list, so his start was delayed. So is that going to throw him off a little bit? I don't know, man. I worry a little bit about Wheeler for that reason, to be honest, man. It seemed like he may have been a little bit distracted in his last start as he gave up 6 runs to the Braves, walked 4 guys. So it was almost like he went out of form a little bit after he was in great form basically the whole season. He had his worst start of the season in that one. Wasn't a good start. Will he bounce back here? That is the question. I mean, now that his baby has been born, is that distraction out of the way? I don't know, because these starting pitchers, they're creatures of habit. They like routine, even though I know Wheeler's a veteran. He's been around for a long time. He might not be as thrown off by this. These guys are used to not pitching on schedule and whatever. But still, when you don't pitch on schedule, it is usually it's a little bit of a concern. You want these guys to, continue pitching on schedule because that's their routine. So now that his schedule's been disrupted a little bit, he is coming off a bad start. It's a little bit of a question what we're going to get here, although over the course of the season, he's obviously been really good. 2.96 ERA, 0.92 whip, 37-9, strikeout walk ratio overall in May, and that includes that bad start to end May with the 4 walks there. Up against the Cubs, who do have a good offense. Of course, both these offenses are quite good, but both pitchers could be able to maybe subdue these offenses a little bit. As in 112 at-bats, Wheeler has been really good against the Cubs. 35-7 strikeout walk ratio, 205 average, and 591 OPS. So in a really big sample size, he has still really limited the damage against the Cubs. He's been really good against the Cubs. And his splits, I don't think are that significant this year. Let me see. What do we got? Yeah, not very significant. He's slightly better on the road, but not much at all. So I think this could be a pitching duel here. You got to just figure out, is Wheeler going to be back in form and bounce back here? As far as the side, the market is indicating on the Cubs, as Philadelphia is returning home from a road trip technically, so that might be some of the reason why Philadelphia down from minus 155 to minus 125. That, and they're just really on a bad streak right now. 55% of tickets, 68% of the cash on the Cubs. I would probably lean to an under, though. I mean, the total's out there at 7.5. It looks like the juice on the over is a little bit less now, even though we see 74% of tickets, 85% of the cash on the over. I would probably lean to the under, though, because I do like both starting pitchers here. The bullpen's decently rested. I mean, a first 5-inning under might make sense, too, but the books threw out that total at 7.5, and they did so for a reason. I mean, lower totals tend to mean you're probably going to get some good pitching here, and that looks really quite low for a matchup between two teams that can hit well. So you think the public would probably kind of come in on the over here, even though they probably like Zach Wheeler a little bit. You'd have to think their tendency would be to play the over anyway in a Cubs-Philadelphia game. So it's almost like kind of a sneaky underplay in a way. But I think you do have two pretty good pitchers on the mound there, and Boyd is in really good form. The matchup numbers look good, so lean to the under or, first 5-inning under if you don't really want to deal with the Philadelphia bullpen especially, but you have to probably go under 3.5 for that. So we'll see what happens. Next up, I'm going to fade my Boston Red Sox. I'm going to be on Tampa in this game. The spot for the Red Sox, I mean, this is a fade spot. I mean, come on, man. They're coming off a huge weekend series against the Yankees, their biggest rival, and they just won 2 games in a row against the Yankees. They've scored double-digit runs in 3 of the last 4 games. And even though the Red Sox offense is decent, I think it's a little bit of an outlier, and their pitching has still been bad in every game. I mean, they've allowed 7 or more runs in every one of those 4 games. So it's not like their pitching is better right now. And Garrett Crochet pitched in one of those games too. The first one that they won. But the Red Sox are coming off 2 wins in the Bronx, man. And not only that, they're returning home, even though it was only a trip to New York. It's a very short trip, but still, they're returning home from that, and they played at night against the Yankees in the big ESPN night game. Your biggest rival. You have a short turnaround time to get back, and you got to play Tampa Bay, who I know Tampa Bay is ahead of the Red Sox in the standings, but still, you just came off a series against the Yankees, man. There's nothing bigger than that. You beat them twice, so I don't like how this sets up at all for the Red Sox. And not only that, but they did use a lot of relief pitchers yesterday. After Dobbins got them through 5 innings, he did a decent job yesterday, even though I think he pissed off the Yankees by saying that if the Yankees were the only team that made him an offer, he would retire from baseball. You don't want to, dude, why would you give your biggest rival and your opponent like locker room fodder like that to make them hate you even more and want to beat you up? I mean, that was stupid of him to say that, even though it was a hilarious comment. I love Dobbins for that, man. But the Red Sox, I mean, he got the job done anyway. He kind of dueled Rodon. Rodon actually didn't pitch that well yesterday. Red Sox have been able to hit him a little bit in the past, as I pointed out yesterday. Red Sox used 7 relief pitchers, man, and Chapman pitched in both of those last 2 games, if I'm not mistaken, even though he only threw 3 pitches yesterday and got the one final out with a 3-pitch strikeout. But still, Chapman, I mean, he's not going to be available in this game today because he pitched the last 2 games. So you got to imagine he's not going to be available here, even though he did only throw 3 pitches yesterday. So Red Sox bullpen is completely spent here. They're in a bad letdown spot. They have a short turnaround time. Tampa Bay, they're starting a road trip with some decent momentum. They've been kind of hot recently. They've won 4 in a row before that loss to Miami, and then they beat Miami to win the series. And now they're taking that momentum out on the road, getting to face the Red Sox, which is always a big series, man. The Red Sox, even though they're not playing well this year, they still have the name, so you know Tampa's still going to get up for it, whereas the Red Sox are actually coming off a series that's bigger than this one. Tampa Bay, I mean, this is a momentum spot for them. You know they're going to be focused here. And the starting pitching matchup works well for Tampa Bay, in my opinion. Shane Baz is pitching for them. His numbers don't look good on the season. 4.96 ERA, 1.36 whip. But he looks like he's kind of returning to form here as he's allowed 3 or fewer earned runs in the last 3 outings. He's got his walk numbers under control a little bit better here with 12 strikeouts, 4 walks over those 3 starts. So he's coming back into form a little bit. His walk numbers going down a little bit. Tampa's won 4 of his last 5 starts now. He was hot to start the season, went out of form. It looks like he's kind of coming back into form. The last time he faced the Red Sox was at Steinbrenner Field, Tampa's temporary home back in April, and he did really well in the game. It was one of his best starts of the season. He had 11 strikeouts, no walks, only allowed 2 hits. One of them was a home run, but he only allowed that 1 run, a solo home run, 6 innings. So, yeah, that does mean that, the Red Sox are more familiar with him now, whatever. They might hit him a little bit better here, but I'm not really expecting it. Boz has actually been better away from Steinbrenner Stadium, so he did that to the Red Sox at home. Now he's going to Fenway, which I know is not a pitcher-friendly park either. It's a hitter-friendly park, as is Steinbrenner Field, but Boz is a 4.24 road ERA, so he's been better on the road. And up against the Red Sox, not just that one start, but he's got a 43 at-bat sample size against the Red Sox. He has completely owned the Red Sox. They only have 5 hits off, and one of them is a home run from Christian Campbell. So that was the home run in that other game this year, by the way. But Campbell's been the only guy to do anything against him. Other than that, he has a 17-3 strikeout walk ratio against them. He's held him to a 116 batting average and extremely low 360 OPS as well. So I think Boz does have the upper hand here. He's up against Brian Bayo, who is a really bad pitcher, as I continue to tell you. His 3.91 ERA continues to, I think, garner him some respect from recreational bettors, but I don't think he's getting very much respect in the marketplace because the odds makers know he's not good. He has a 1.59 whip, man. Again, you're not going to get away with walking as many guys as Bayo does. He's only walked 5 guys in the last 3 outings, but he only went more than 5 innings once, which was his last outing, so it was a little bit better than his previous outings. But prior to that last outing, he had not even made it 5 innings in 5 straight appearances, and the Red Sox have lost 4 of his last 5 starts. I mean, he's not getting it done. He was getting run support earlier on in the season. He was kind of getting away with pitching poorly and putting a lot of guys on base, and that hasn't really changed. He's still not striking a lot of guys out. He's walking a ton of guys. He's allowing more than 1 hit per inning as well. I mean, it's just not coming together for Bayo. And he's been worse at home than on the road, and that's where he is here, 4.11 home ERA, worse than what he's got on the road. And up against Tampa, he also has not been good. In 84 at-bats, Tampa's hitters have done well against him. 30 for 84, 20-7 strikeout walk ratio. So 7, excuse me. The 7 walks is pretty high. 357 average and 918 OPS. Lowe is 7 for 17 with a home run off him. Josh Lowe. Jansen is 3 for 10 with a couple doubles. Diaz, 5 for 12 with a couple doubles. Aranda, 5 for 12 with a double or an RBI, a walk. Lowe has a couple of walks off him as well. Josh Lowe, has 1 walk. Brandon Lowe has 2 walks. I forgot they have 2 Lows. Imagine if they get Nathaniel Lowe as well, and then they're really going low. And then Caballero's 4 for 7 off him with 3 RBIs and a walk as well. So it's just crazy town here where most of Tampa's lineup wrecks Bayo. So I think it's a bad situational spot for the Red Sox. Red Sox wasted their bullpen yesterday, so Tampa's bullpen is actually a little bit more rested now coming into this one. Tampa has the better bullpen. As you can see here, they actually have the fourth best bullpen ERA in baseball. Red Sox are somewhere around being in the top 3rd, but wasted their whole bullpen yesterday. And the starting pitching matchup, split-wise and based on their matchup numbers, is heavily in favor of Tampa as well. Plus, the situation, which is where you start with fading the team that won the huge series in the Sunday night game there. Tampa Bay is definitely the play in that game, man. And looking at the market, I said the market was disagreeing with me when I looked earlier. We'll see what happens. It still is. Red Sox are down from -120 to -112. They got 51% of tickets, 79% of the cash on them. We'll see if that turns around by later tonight when the game actually gets played. Or by tonight, but I think it's a great spot to fade the Red Sox, man. And Bayo, actually, we can look. I don't know did he face Tampa this year? Let me see. He has not. So Bayo has actually not faced Tampa this year. So I don't even know if that's a slight edge, though, because they've seen enough of him. They've hit him well. I don't think that matters. Atlanta at Milwaukee. Milwaukee is coming off a series against San Diego, pretty big series, although Atlanta still has a lot of weight behind their name. They're facing Chris Sale, so it is still pretty big game. Atlanta's coming off getting swept, I believe, by San Francisco. Tough spot for them, though, man, because, Atlanta's on a bad streak right now. They've lost 7 games in a row, so, of course, they're going to want to turn it around. But going from the Pacific Coast now to Milwaukee, switching time zones, Not really the easiest thing to do. They do have Chris Sale on the mound, who is putting together another really good season. I don't know why. Why did they put up the video of him still on the Red Sox, man? Stop teasing me. Stop making me long for what once was. 2.93 ERA this year for him, 1.24 whip. So his whip is going down as well. He struck out 10 guys in his last outing, 8 the outing before that. I mean, he's been in good form for a while now. He had a 1.11 ERA in May with a 40-10 strikeout walk ratio. He did walk 4 guys against Arizona, which is a little bit concerning, but he was virtually unhittable in the game as well. So only allowing 1 run, striking out 10, 3 hits allowed in 6 innings. He is in good form right now. Home road splits are very insignificant for him. He's good either way. But against Milwaukee, he actually has not done that well in 37 at-bats. Does have a 12-3 strikeout walk ratio, which is good. But Milwaukee does have a 324 average and 780 OPS off him. So Milwaukee's bats have done okay against Sale in the past. So you might have to dial it back a little bit on Sale. Savale, maybe it's not quite the Sale that we think it is here. Aaron Savale pitching for the Brewers here, 5.19 ERA, 1.33 whip this year. Those are not very good numbers. He's had a couple of okay starts in a row, though. They've won his last 3 starts. Hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of them. Went 5 innings at least in each of his last 2. Did have a 9-2 strikeout walk ratio of those last couple of starts, so he is starting to come into form and pitch okay here. He's been better at home with a 1.8 ERA so far at home. Very limited sample size, though. He only has 1 home start, which was against my Boston Red Sox, his best start of the year. And he is up against Atlanta here. His numbers against Atlanta are a very small sample size of 7 at-bats, but Atlanta is 4 for 7 off him lifetime with a home run from Murphy. Verdugo, 3 for 5 off him with 2 RBIs. Atlanta's hit him pretty well. Hasn't struck any of them out. 571 average, 1,571 OPS. Although, again, it's a very small sample size that we're dealing with here. So I don't know if there's that much you can take away from that, but Savale still hasn't really done that well against them. So this could be an over game, man. Although the money is coming in on the under. Looks like the total's gone up a little bit from 7.5 juice to the under to straight up 7.5. 58% of tickets on the under, 85% of the cash on the under. Not quite sure I agree with that under, though. With the under sentiment there. I think it could go over, especially with Milwaukee not having a great bullpen. Atlanta, their bullpen is mediocre, but kind of got used in that San Francisco series. Atlanta's been driven up from minus 152 to minus 163. You're always going to pay a tax on Chris Sale, man. But it might not be the spot where you want to take Sale because his numbers are actually pretty bad against Milwaukee. Like I said, so 62% of tickets, only 55% of the cash on the Braves, indicating the Braves are public with less of the money coming in on them. So it could be a spot to maybe fade them there. I'm going to stay away, though. My last actual play is going to be on Toronto. I'm going to give out Toronto at a small money line price. Also, the Tampa Bay was on the money line as well. You can get a small money line price here. This looks like I'm fading the market read as well. St. Louis up from minus 110 to minus 111 here. 55% of tickets, 92% of the cash on St. Louis in this battle of the birds. We'll see what happens with the market throughout the day, but I agree with the Toronto side here, man. Toronto, I know they just lost a win streak, but they've been fairly hot, man. I mean, they had a 5-game win streak, and the last time they lost, they bounced right back with a win against Philadelphia, although it was a 2-1 win, but still they did win. They didn't have a horrible game. So sometimes when a team loses a win streak, they'll get hung over. In the next game, they didn't. So now they are in a spot where they just lost a 4-game win streak. But I still like Toronto here, man. Toronto, yeah, they used a few of their relief pitchers yesterday because Francis really didn't do well again, very unfortunately. But they kind of used their innings eaters type of relievers. So the Blue Jays didn't really use many of their high leverage relievers. They used Schultz out there, Fisher, guys that are going to come in and kind of eat some innings out there. Eat some innings up there, eat them out. Yeah, they're very experienced at the baseball equivalent of cunnilingus, I guess. I don't know. But no, Toronto, I mean, their bullpen is in okay shape coming into this, and they've quietly risen up the ranks in bullpen. Their bullpen is actually pretty good, and their better relievers are still available here. As they're actually 5th in bullpen ERA now. So Toronto does have a better bullpen. As you see St. Louis down here, actually St. Louis in kind of the bottom half now, just above Pittsburgh, although there is kind of a gap between Pittsburgh and St. Louis, but they don't have a great bullpen there. St. Louis So Toronto is starting a road trip, by the way. So that's another thing about, why do I keep saying that? They're continuing a road trip here after playing in Minnesota. They're going down to St. Louis. So they're staying in the Central Time Zone. It's kind of a quick trip for them. So I think that's going to help them. You lost there. Just get out of there. Pretend like you're starting a new road trip. You're starting a new series. Start fresh. I think it's a decent spot for Toronto. Where St. Louis, yes, they are staying at home, but they just are coming off a big series against the Dodgers, man. And St. Louis, I don't think they're as good as they look. Their record's been good all season, basically, but I think they're starting to fade a little bit, and I don't think they're as good as their record indicates. They did just win a series against the Dodgers, even though they lost the last game. Could be in a bit of a letdown spot here. They didn't use as many of their relief pitchers yesterday, so their bullpen is okay right now, but I still think Toronto wins out in the bullpen situation because they do have the better bullpen and the better arms available here. And I like the starting pitching matchup as Toronto has Barrios pitching, and after kind of an iffy start to the season, he's starting to pitch the way that we expect. 3.67 ERA is pretty good, 1.28 whip. You'd like to see that get lower, but he's actually started to pitch better, man. In his last 4 outings, he hasn't walked more than 2 in any of them, hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any of them. They've won the last 2 behind him, and one of those was that game after they lost against Philadelphia with the bounce-back win right after that. Barrios was on the mound, so I think that's a good sign as well. So I like all that, and Barrios actually has been better on the road than at home with a 3.07 road ERA. So he's on the road here, so that's a good sign as well. He's better on the road. And up against St. Louis in his career, I just switched to Seattle, where he does have really good numbers. That might make you excited if you look at that. Oh, he has really good numbers. His numbers against St. Louis are also good, though. In 39 at bats, they only have 8 hits off him. 10-3 strikeout walk ratio. He's held him to 205 average and 561 OPS. So Barrios has done quite well against them, other than Contreras being 2 for 5 with 2 doubles, an RBI, a walk. Other than that, he's been pretty good against them. So the splits look good for Barrios. Matchup looks good for Barrios, and he's up against Andre Palante, who's not really having that great a season, man. He's really kind of started to fall off after he looked like he was pitching pretty well. Not really the case now. 4.91 ERA on the season, 1.38 whip, and he is certainly not in good form right now as he walked 7 guys over the previous 2 outings before his last outing where he didn't walk anybody, but he only struck out 2 and he gave up 7 earned runs in 4 1/3 against a very weak Kansas City team. And not only that, but he went into the 5th inning with the lead and he just got absolutely rocked. So Palante is not in good form right now, man. And that was against a bad offense. That is not a good sign. He's also been worse at home, where he is here with a 5.68 home ERA, which does include that last start against Kansas City and 2 of his last 3 starts. So none of that is good. Granted, Kansas City had seen him not that long before that, and he did pitch better against him. So Kansas City was set up to do a little bit better against him in that next outing, but still, that's not great. And Palante up against Toronto, even though Toronto has not been the greatest offense this year, they've hit him decently. It's a small sample size of 17, but Vladdy Guerrero Jr. does have a home run off him. He only has 2 strikeouts, 1 walk against them, 17 at-bats. He's allowed 5 hits, so it's a 294 average and 863 OPS allowed. So Palante hasn't done particularly well against Toronto. I think everything sets up nicely for Toronto here, man. You got the pitching matchup is in favor of them, in my opinion. Toronto's got the better bullpen. I think debatably they might have the better offense, too. I mean, debatable. They're fairly close, at least. And I think the situation actually sets up a little bit better for Toronto, in my opinion, as well. And they have the home road splits in their favor as well here. So Toronto is a play in that one. The Blue Jays. A's are at the Anaheim Angels here. Anaheim just lost to Seattle. They won the series, but they lost the last game to Seattle. George Kirby actually seems like he's completely back now as he exploded for 14 strikeouts yesterday and had an amazing outing yesterday. Completely outpitched Tyler Anderson. It was terrible in the game. Even though the final score wasn't that much of a blowout, Anaheim got wrecked. They are staying at home. The A's are getting to start a road trip after winning against Baltimore. So the A's are going out on the road with some confidence. So it is a focus spot for the A's, and the A's have been better on the road than at home this year. So it's not the worst spot for the A's. They got Jeffrey Springs pitching, who hasn't been that great, though. 4.66 ERA and 1.34 whip. He did have 6 walks and gave up 6 runs against Toronto 2 starts ago, but he bounced back nicely against Minnesota with 7 strikeouts, only allowed 3 earned runs at home, so that wasn't that bad. So he's kind of returning to form, and he has been better on the road with a really respectable 3.86 road ERA. So getting out of that terrible hitting park in Sacramento has been good for him. So he's on the road here, which is good. And up against Anaheim, what does he have for numbers? I mean, Anaheim's offense isn't that good. So in 29 at-bats, 10 strikeouts, 4 walks. The number of walks is too high, though. I mean, he's allowed 9 hits, so he hasn't been that good against Anaheim. They have a 310 average off him, 773 OPS. So Springs is fairly good on the road this year, but he hasn't been good specifically against Anaheim, even though it does look like the A's are in a nice positive spot here. Kikuchi is pitching for Anaheim, and he has definitely been better at home, as is usually the case with him. He has a 1.33 ERA at home. On the season, 3.23 ERA is good, but he is walking way too many guys to keep his ERA that low. 1.59 whip is awful, man. Absolutely awful. He's gone 4 starts in a row where he's allowed at least 4 walks in each one, and somehow his team has won 3 of the 4, and they've actually won 5 of his last 6 games. I don't think that could possibly continue walking that many guys. That whip is unbelievably high to have an ERA that low. I just don't think it can continue at all, man. And his ground ball rate isn't really that high either. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys. His strikeout walk ratio is really, really bad. So he can't continue to pitch like this and get away with it, man. But against the A's, they only have 10 at-bats against him. Only Blade, Rooker, and Urias have seen him before, or Urias. They're 2 for 10 off him, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, a 200 average, 533 OPS. So Kikuchi does have the better matchup numbers slightly, even though it does look like the A's are in the slightly better situational spot, and Kikuchi is going to regress at some point. I don't know that it'll be here, though, so we'll see what happens. Although, again, the A's do play a little bit better on the road than at home, because their home is basically a fake home. They don't have a home. Anaheim is down from -160 to -149 in this one, with starting pitcher still listed as undecided here. ESPN does have it as Springs, so pay attention to that, too, because it might not actually be Springs, but we will see if hope springs eternal for them. Dodgers coming off beating St. Louis yesterday after they lost the series, though. So the Dodgers are coming off multiple series losses in a row to the Mets and St. Louis after they beat the Yankees in the World Series rematch series there. Dodgers might want to bounce back a little bit. They got that win, so they might have a little bit of momentum, but they're having to travel from St. Louis to San Diego here. So they're having to go out to the Pacific Coast, which is almost like they're returning home because they're returning to Southern California. So in the meantime, they might actually even see their family in the meantime. So it could be a little bit of a distraction spot, plus changing time zones for the Dodgers. So it might not actually be the greatest spot for them. San Diego, though, they're returning home from a road trip legitimately. So both teams are actually returning to the Pacific Coast from the Central Time Zone. San Diego could be in a distraction spot here because they are actually returning back to their home city. They were just up the coast in San Francisco, but then they went to Milwaukee before they're now returning home. They won both series, or excuse me, they split the series in San Francisco and then won the series against Milwaukee. It's hard to keep track of which outcome is which on that ESPN schedule thing. So again, yeah, we'll see what happens in this game as far as that's concerned. It is a bit of a worse spot for San Diego. Both teams used a lot of their relief pitchers yesterday, man. So the bullpens are not well rested coming into this. San Diego does have a better bullpen, 3rd best in Major League Baseball. Dodgers, very mediocre right now with their bullpen. So San Diego normally would have a bit of a bullpen edge, but with both bullpens being very unrested, I mean, I guess you could argue they still have because they have the better bullpen. If the rest situation is the same, they still get the edge in the bullpen. I could see that debate. Situationally, I don't think they have the better of it as they are returning home. Dustin May is pitching for the Dodgers. He's been mediocre. 4.09 ERA, 1.25 whip. Last outing, he did have 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 earned runs allowed against the Mets, a pretty good team. So he did pitch pretty well there. Previous 3 outings, he had 8, 8, and 9 strikeouts. So his strikeout rate has been pretty good. He's actually been pretty serviceable all year, really. He's only had 1 outing where he allowed more than 4 earned runs. So he's been decent for them, although the Dodgers have lost a lot of his starts. But he's been okay. His home road splits, though, he is a lot worse on the road with a 5.4 road ERA, which is pretty bad. He's been way better at home, but he is in a pitcher-friendly ballpark here against San Diego. So will that help? I don't know. His numbers are okay against San Diego. They have 75 at-bats against them, but it's all concentrated amongst 5 batters, and it's mostly the better batters for San Diego. And they do have 4 home runs off him. Machado with 2 of them, although Machado's only 7 for 30 off him. Cronenworth is the hitter that really does hit him well. 5 for 17 with a home run and a walk. Overall, he has a 14-5 strikeout walk ratio against him, a 253 average, which is pretty low, and a 753 OPS, which is just a little bit on the higher side. So not terrible numbers. Higher side chats from me, man. Talking about the OPS, opposing a hitter OPS Mendoza line there. So it sets up okay for him, but he has been worse on the road. Nick Pivetta is pitching for San Diego. He's having a good season, obviously, a 3.16 ERA, 1.02 whip. Taking a little bit of a step back with a couple of bad outings mixed in there in the last 5. 2 of them were not very good, although in his last outing, he still had a 5-1 strikeout walk ratio at San Francisco. So he did get a little bit unlucky, allowed a home run, 5 runs on only 6 hits and 1 walk. Usually you're going to hold an opponent to fewer runs than that if you're not putting many men on base, so that wasn't really that bad of a start for Pivetta. They've mostly been pretty good behind him. He's been good basically all season, though, pretty much, except for those 2 bad outings. Not allowing more than 3 earned runs in any start besides those 2. He's been a lot better at home, too, with a 1.69 home ERA in this pitcher-friendly park as well. He's been using that to his advantage, so he has been good at home. Up against the Dodgers, has fairly mediocre numbers as well, though. Very similar, actually, starting pitching matchup numbers, although Pavetta's in a way bigger sample size. So I think there's more that you can take away from this. 125 at-bats. He has a 32-12 strikeout walk ratio, so it is too many walks. Freddie Freeman specifically hits him well. 12 for 36 with 3 doubles, a triple, a home run, 6 RBIs, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts. So if you want some player prop potential there, Freddie Freeman, hits plus runs plus RBIs, and Ohtani as well. 4 for 12 with 2 home runs off him, but also 6 strikeouts. So very hit or miss there from Ohtani, literally. Overall, Pavetta's held him to 256 average, but a fairly high 793 OPS. So again, these pitchers have kind of mediocre numbers against these opposing offenses, so we will see what happens in that game, man. Don't want to play the game. I will tell you that the money is coming in on the LA side, up from minus 105 to minus 115. It's crazy enough, the odds makers have lined LA as the favorite on the road, even though it's Dustin May against Nick Pivetta. So the odds makers are telling you they actually think the Dodgers are the better team here and don't have that much of a disadvantage in the starting pitching matchup. And maybe some of it is the San Diego return home spot, but I think that gets negated a little bit by the fact this is a huge series against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are also returning to the Pacific Coast. So I'm not going to play the game. Dodgers do have 61% of tickets, 81% of the cash on them. So the market read does say the Dodgers here, and the totals dropped a little from 8 juice the over to 8. 86% of tickets on the over and only 85% of the cash. Public is going to come in on the over in a game like this. It is a pitcher-friendly park, but I could see these pitching matchup. I could see the pitching matchup going either way, man. I could see either pitcher having a good outing or a not so good outing here. So it's very difficult to handicap that game. And then Seattle's at Arizona to finish this off. Seattle traveling in from Anaheim, not a huge amount of travel there for them. They just won a game, so Seattle actually busted up a long loss streak. They lost 5 games in a row and then finally beat Anaheim to salvage the last game of that series. So I think that's going to give them some momentum coming into this because Seattle had not been playing well. They finally got a win. Get that monkey off your back, and now you get to go to Arizona, although Arizona probably going to be in a little bit of an angry mood because they did just get swept by Cincinnati after they swept the Braves. So they just went out on the road and had a sweep and then got swept. But Arizona's returning home from a road trip, but they went to Atlanta and then Cincinnati. So again, it's a return home spot. Return home spots are usually bad. So situation, I think it's a much better spot for Seattle because Arizona is returning home from the road trip. Can be a bit of a distracted spot. The public's going to generally think, hey, they're going to bounce back from losing like that, but that's not really the way that it works. A lot of times you get distracted by having to get back to family life. So sometimes you can have a bad performance there, and Seattle's already out on the road, just making a little bit of travel here with a little bit of momentum. So the spot sets up better for Seattle, in my opinion. Arizona has the worst of the bullpens as well. I didn't really look to see what the bullpen usage was yesterday for either team, though, because I decided I wasn't going to play the game. But let's see. Arizona, yesterday, they only used 2 relief pitchers, so their bullpen is in decent rest shape. And Seattle only used a couple of their relievers as well, I think, yesterday, even though they had to finish off the game. They did use their closer, though, Munoz, and Brash, who's been pitching well this year as well with a 0 ERA. So they did use a couple of their better relievers yesterday as well. But overall, I think because Arizona's bullpen is way worse, I think they might still have the bullpen disadvantage. Arizona's the 4th worst bullpen in baseball, and there's a big gap between them and Baltimore as well. So they're a bottom tier bullpen. It has not been good for them this year. Seattle is basically kind of a middle of the pack bullpen, so they do have the better, I think they have the better talent in their bullpen as well. So Seattle still, in my opinion, does have a bullpen edge. Emerson Hancock, pitcher for Seattle, doesn't have good numbers, 5.19 ERA, 1.47 whip, but he has been significantly better on the road with a very respectable 3.25 road ERA. So he's been a lot better on the road. He's actually pitched fairly decently for 4 starts in a row now, allowing 3 or fewer earned runs in all 4 of them. Last 3 outings, he's gone at least 5 1/3. Even though his team lost the last 2, he was not getting a lot of run support, really. He did walk 5 guys in the last 2 outings, which is a little bit of a concern that he's having a little bit of trouble with his command. But he hasn't been on the road, but he's in okay form right now, I would say, but slightly iffy. Up against Arizona, though, he actually has done well. They haven't seen much of him, and when they did, they couldn't get a grasp on him. It seems like it's their 0 for 15. Marte did walk against him once. They only have 3 strikeouts, which isn't a high strikeout rate either, but they're 0 for 15 off him with 1 walk. So a 0 batting average and 0.62 OPS. So Hancock has had good numbers against him in the past. Arizona's got Merrill Kelly pitching, and he's having a good season with a 3.43 ERA and a .99 whip. I mean, when you have a sub-1 whip, that is good. And he's been in nice form for a while, man, going back to basically early May. He has had no fewer than 6 strikeouts in any of those outings, even though in a couple outings he got hit a little bit and allowed 4 earned runs in a couple of them. The other outings he allowed 1 or fewer earned runs in 3, and then only allowed 3 earned runs in the other one against the Mets. So he's pitching pretty well. In his last outing, he had a 7-inning, 1-hit shutout with 1 walk and 8 strikeouts against Atlanta. So I do think he's in pretty good form right now. He is also better at home, even though Chase Field is a pretty good hitting park. He has a 3.03 home ERA, so his numbers are pretty good at home. And up against Seattle in his career, nice numbers, 44 at-bats. Does have a 10-5 strikeout walk ratio, which isn't that good. Too many walks, but he's held to a 182 average, only 8 hits, but a little bit of a higher 720 OPS because he's allowed 4 home runs to 4 different guys, Arozarena, Crawford, Garver, and Polanco, kind of the usual suspects, although Raleigh is over 3 off him. But those other 4 guys have a home run off him, all in small sample sizes. But overall, the splits kind of set up nicely for the pitchers in that one, man. So I have a slight lean to Seattle because of the situation in that one, although the money line has moved on Arizona up from -155 to -165. 76% of tickets, 84% in the cash coming in on them. So the money looks like it is on Arizona right now. I don't really agree with that, and you would be fading the public if you like Seattle there. So I think getting Seattle in a situation that's not that bad for them at a big underdog price might be worth taking a look at Seattle there. Although Seattle, of course, the one big disadvantage they have is the offense. Arizona has a much better offense, which is being factored in to the line as well. And, of course, Merrill Kelly, the overall season stats are obviously being factored into the line as well, where Kelly has a much better overall numbers than Hancock. But Hancock, there are some reasons to think he might do okay in this game. Total is pretty high at 9.5, which is typical of what you see at a hitter park like this in Arizona. But I think the under could be worth a look in this game. Because, again, I just showed you the matchup numbers look pretty good for the pitchers. The splits look pretty good. 57% of tickets are on the over. Of course, basically the public's going to come in on an over in an Arizona game for the most part. 75% of the cash on the under, though. So the money is coming in on the under as far as the percentages are concerned. I don't disagree with that. If you don't like Arizona's bullpen, which, of course, I don't either, even though they're fairly well rested coming into this one, you could also play a first 5-inning under and maybe even get it at under, like, 5 in this one because the total is really high. So you get a decent number if you just want to focus on the starting pitching there as well. So probably, those would be my thoughts on that game. I guess I should say that's going to do it for me, man. The plays one more time that I gave out. We're going another play in the WNBA. I think I'm only 6-4, but still been a winning season so far in the WNBA, and it should be better as I got screwed on a couple of those. Really, the most recent one was really one of two actual legitimate losses that I've taken in the WNBA so far. But LA in the WNBA -6.5 is the play there. In baseball, Cleveland Indians, I have a split bet recommendation here, half on the run line, half on the money line. If you want to just go -1 run line, that's fine. If you want to just play on the -1.5 run line at plus money, I think you can go ahead and do that as well. And the money line, I think, is fine as well. So any way you want to do it, I think is fine. Tampa Bay money line, short price. I see -104 out there. And Toronto, short money line as well, -102. Both of those being road teams, by the way. So, again, there is a reason. And by the way, I guess I forgot to mention the fact that Toronto is almost a favorite on the road against St. Louis, even though Toronto is below 500 on the road. St. Louis is well above 500 at home. I am aware they've been really good at home, so we are fading that. And St. Louis does have the better record, although Blue Jays have been playing well for a while now, so St. Louis only has a record that's one game better. But still, you're looking at that and thinking, how could Toronto almost basically be a favorite in this game when they have the slightly worse record? Well, the odds makers are telling you something with that number as well. And Toronto, I think, might be better than the record indicates, as they started off really bad this year and have been, especially offensively, and their bullpen, and those have both improved quite a bit for them, whereas St. Louis, I think, is overperforming and has been for a while now. So we'll see what happens. That's going to do it. Tower Gang Toad on Twitter. GiveSendGo.com/TowerGang is still up for now if you want to help throw some support to get me through for a while here. Tower Gang Podcast, of course, Patreon.com/TowerGang if you want to support the Tower Gang Podcast. Maybe going through some changes, unfortunately. We're going to see what happens with Tower Gang. I don't know what is going to happen. Bohemian Grove is still happening, as far as I know. Go get your tickets for that in Florida, Central Florida, in a couple weeks now. Less than a couple weeks, really. So go check that out. And I think that's all I had to say. I think that's it, right? Yeah. Have a good one for now, everybody, and peace.